My name is Chase Senior. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I appreciate all of you for hanging out here with me as NFL free agency gets closer and closer. And with that, coming up on today's show, I put together my perfect Niners free agency plan. What these two guys here to my right, General Manager John Lynch, Head Coach Kyle Shanahan, can do to ace the free agency period. Before we dive into all of that, my 5-step plan with some additional things as well, because our content is limitless. Free agency starts on Monday. I'm going to be live all next week right here on the 49ers Report alongside the homie producer, Chip. Anytime the Niners make a move, we'll talk about it. When the Niners lose a player, we'll discuss it as well. Anytime there's big news around San Francisco, we're hitting on it right here on the show. So tap in, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications. Therefore, when I do go live, when we publish a video, you'll get that push notification. First step with my perfect free agency plan. I really want the 49ers to sign wide receiver Alec Pierce. And it was pretty glaring and eye-opening how in the last two games against the Seahawks, Week 18 and in the divisional round, how slow the Niners were as an offense. Well, this guy here to my right helped San Francisco with that. The Niners could not get any separation against the Super Bowl champion Seattle defense at that wide receiver position. Brandon Ayuk is not going to be on this team. Ricky Pearsall is always hurt. Outside of that, Jawan Jennings is going to be a free agent, but he's 29 years old this upcoming season, and he's a slower player. Demarcus Robinson, not a speedster. He's like a 4'6", 4'7" guy. Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins can run, but can they stay healthy? They've literally done nothing in their respective NFL careers, and obviously we'll give some leeway to Jordan Watkins because it was only his rookie year, and he was kind of in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. But my point is, the Niners need to rebuild the wide receiver room. And as an offense, they were the oldest offense in the NFL last year. They need to get younger, faster, more explosive. They need to get more dynamic. They need to get longer. They need to get twitchier. And Alec Pierce is that type of guy. Alec Pierce is a player who the last 2 years has led the NFL in average yards per catch. He can take the top off of the defense. He can go up and get it. He can climb the ladder and outduel DBs for the football. He's a really good route runner. He can beat man coverage. He is a dynamic player who's put up really good numbers despite pretty bad, spotty, and inconsistent quarterback play. This past year, 47 catches for more than 1,000 yards, 21.3 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns, 1 drop. He's also very sure-handed. And then in 2024, 37 grabs. But for 824 yards, 22.3 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns and 3 drops. Some people here at Chat Sports are like, I don't like Alec Pierce. He might have to be the number one. He wasn't even the first option for Indianapolis. Imagine what Kyle Shanahan can do with the wide receiver like Alec Pierce. Imagine what Brock Purdy can do, given how well he throws with timing, touch, accuracy, and anticipation. This is an explosive, dynamic player here. And that's what the Niners are in desperate need of. Alec Pierce and Deshaun Jackson, some chat stats here. The only 2 players ever to average 20-plus yards per catch multiple times in their careers. He is going to have a big market. I think he gets $25+ million per year. Not quite $30 million, which is kind of that threshold for like the elite wide receivers, at least starting there and going up. But he's going to get paid. If the Niners can't sign Alec Pierce, a couple of backup wide receiver plans. Rashid Shaheed is a different player, but he's one of the more electrifying playmakers in football. According to reports, him and the Seahawks are not close to getting a deal done. He's more of a gadget guy. He's not an X wide receiver. He's not a number one. But what does he help you do? Get faster as an offense because he can be breathtaking. Mike Evans is a player who's going into year 13 to start his career, had 11 straight years of more than 1,000 yards. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a big body. He can go up and get it. He's a very smart football player. He's a good leader. He's tough. He's a dog. He can make some plays downfield. The concern with him is that he's in his 30s, and he's had some injuries over the last couple of years, especially with that hamstring. I'll talk more about Romeo Doubs a little bit later, but that's another wide receiver who I would really like for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Step number 2, get a deal done with Trent Williams. This is very pivotal. Trent Williams is an offensive tackle who's one of the best players in the history of football at his position. And because he's so elite, still, even though he's 37 years old, going on 38 in July, is a player who makes everybody else better along the offensive line. You take Trent Williams right now away from that Niners offensive line. They go from being like middle of the pack mediocre to easily one of the worst units in the NFL. They currently don't have a left guard. Their center is Jake Brendel, who's not very good. Dominic Puna needs to bounce back after a bad sophomore campaign. And Colton McKivitz is a solid but not good to great player at right tackle. And so that's why it's so important for Trent Williams to play for this team. And keep in mind, as you look at his numbers here, that when he pretty much stepped away from Washington back in the day because of how they handled his cancer diagnosis and his medical situation, he stepped away from football. There was one coach he wanted to play for, one coach that he trusted from that Washington tenure, and that was Kyle Shanahan. Trent Williams is a Kyle Shanahan guy. Kyle Shanahan is a Trent Williams guy. Trent Williams was just on a podcast saying Kyle Shanahan made us believe that we can win a Super Bowl. Not because of our talent, because of the coach. And with how he impacts the game in the run game, in the pass game, and just how good he is, and the cultural element to this too, I think it's really important for the Niners to get a deal done. If the Niners cannot get a deal done with Trent Williams, I think it would be smart to not release him. That would be idiotic because of the dead cap charge, and you'd get no value back for him. Gauge what his market is on the trade market. And if you can't strike a deal with Trent Williams, trade him for some really good draft picks and then draft an offensive tackle in the first round at number 27. And we'll see how the board falls, and we'll see how this process goes in the lead up to the draft, which is still at the end of April here. There's a lot of things that can change. But here's some offensive tackle draft targets for San Francisco with the 27th overall pick. Monroe Freeling is an inexperienced player out of Georgia who had a great NFL combine. Some people think that he might go top 10, and he very well might, but he could also slide because of the inexperience. He's a left tackle. Kadyn Proctor, also a left tackle. Started the year with Alabama at 390 pounds. Weighed in at the combine, I think, around 353. Really good player who has vast experience at the college level. Max Iheanachor out of Arizona State. We're working on getting that name right. I believe I just did there, but a couple of different pronunciations because the NFL Network butchered it over the weekend. He is an inexperienced player who just started playing football a couple of years ago, but as an athlete, he's excellent. He's more of a right tackle. How he tested at the NFL Combine opened up a lot of eyes. I think the future for him is very bright. Blake Miller out of Clemson, a very, very experienced player who producer Chip likes a lot and knows very well because Chip is a Clemson guy. And then Caleb Lomu is not Spencer Fano. He's the other Utah tackle. And some people think that Fano might be a guard, but Caleb is a pretty good player in his own right. So if you do trade away Trent Williams, shoot, even if you keep him on this roster, I still think it's important to improve the offensive line, and I like some of the tackle prospects who could be on the board with the 27th overall pick. Step number 3, this 49ers defensive line needs to get better. John Lynch said that at the NFL Combine, that they weren't good enough at consistently getting to the quarterback. And I've thrown this stat out there very often. A lot of this was due to injuries, but also because the Niners didn't have a great pass rush or defensive line. They were dead last in the NFL in sacks. And John Franklin Myers is a player who has been excellent for Denver the last couple of years. He played under Robert Saleh, so you know that he's comfortable with this 4-3 scheme. Niners are going to keep running that 4-3 base defense. And John Franklin Myers, there's been a lot of talk about the Niners being interested in him, can play a little bit of defensive end. He can play a little bit of defensive tackle. He's just a disruptive player. Of course, with a lot of these free agents, it's going to come down to the price tag. John Franklin Myers is going to be 30 years old when next season comes around. And the last time that the Niners gave big-time money to a defensive tackle who was around that age was Javon Hargrave. And they're still eating the dead money from that deal. You hope that John Franklin Myers can be productive, that he can stay healthy. The thing with Hargrave is that he was an awful run stopper. Well, what did the Niners need at that time? A run-stopping defensive tackle. So I think John Franklin Myers just fits in a little bit better. If the Niners can't sign a player like John Franklin Myers, or they can't make a move for a pass rusher out there, there are a couple of pass rushers who really interest me. Check in on Trey Hendrickson, see what that contract is like. his value is a little bit lower than what it was this time last year when I thought the Bengals could have gotten like a second-round pick because he was hurt last year, and he, too, is starting to become a little bit of an older player from the NFL point of view. But Trey Hendrickson is a player who the Niners have really liked in the past. Bradley Chubb is another veteran who's not going to break the bank. He'll be even more affordable than a Trey Hendrickson. So go big game hunting, go for the big fish, but then have a contingency plan in place. And that's what good businesses do. That's what good organizations do. So with that, what do the Niners need to do in free agency? Just in the offseason in general, they need to get faster on offense, and they need to improve their offensive line. More from my perfect free agency plan coming up here in just a moment. But if you love this show, if you love the 49ers and you want to support the channel, rep the show, look good with an excellent t-shirt, these shirts, 49ers Report shirts, are available for only $24.99. And I get real-time updates. I'm live right now recording this. Whoever buys a 49ers Report shirt, I will give you a shout out right here on the show. But anybody who purchases a tee, I get real-time updates to see who really is a real one. How do you get that 49ers Report shirt? Head to chatsports.com/49ers-tee. Chatsports.com/49ers-tee. You've been asking me for years to push out some shirts and design some shirts. We've done it for the real ones, so get your shirts right now. Step number 4 for my perfect Niners free agency plan. At that left guard spot, sign a stopgap option in a 7-time Pro Bowler in Joel Bitonio. Cleveland Browns let him go. He is contemplating retirement, but he's played for a bad organization his entire career. Joel, you want an opportunity to make the playoffs, potentially win a Super Bowl, and play in a high-octane offense potentially and win a lot of games, which you haven't been able to do. I know you're considering retirement, but continue your great career with the Niners here. And can you imagine Bitonio alongside Trent Williams? That would be a massive upgrade over what the Niners had last year with Spencer Burford and Ben Barch at left guard. Bitonio is a good player. He's played under Kevin Stefanski, similar elements of his offense to Kyle Shanahan's, and he was good last year. Overall PFF grade of 70.7, 23rd among 81 guards in football. That's left guards and right guards. Run blocking grade 64.4, 38th. Not bad there. But the pass blocking grade 75.7, that was 8th. His pass block win rate was top 5 among all guards in football. He only gave up 1 quarterback hit, only surrendered 2 sacks, did give up 31 pressures, but all of the other offensive linemen around him were injured, and then the replacements were not good. So there was a lot of pressure on him. I would really like this option as a veteran player who would be a good scheme fit, who I also don't think would break the bank. And then coming in at number 5, obviously, the Niners need to address some of the other needs on this roster. And so some free agents who catch my eye for the Niners. Running back Kenneth Gainwell, former Eagle, who last year played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a really good pass-catching back out of the backfield who's very dynamic with the ball in his hands. He would be a good change of pace back with what the Niners have right now in Christian McCaffrey and Jordan James. I think it's really important for the Niners to re-sign Eddie Pinheiro. They did not use the franchise tag on him, but he only missed 1 kick last year. Helped to save the season. Wide receiver Romeo Doubs would be a great fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and I think that he could really elevate in this scheme alongside Brock Purdy. Is he a number 1? I don't think he's a true number 1, but he's 6'2", 200 pounds, runs in the 4.4s, and he's close to being like a 1B or an elite number 2, which is fine in this offense. David Onyemata is an interior defensive lineman who could follow Raheem Morris from Atlanta to the Niners. That's a need there for San Francisco. Odafe Oweh, still a good young player who is starting to come into his own over the last couple of years. Defensive end Boye Mafe from the Seahawks is another player who I really like. And then in the secondary, cornerback Nahshon Wright was very disruptive at generating turnovers last year. Asante Samuel Jr. signed late in the year with the Steelers. He played pretty well. He's still young, and it looks like the neck is in a good spot. Safety Nick Cross. I think the Niners need to get better at safety. Safety Jaquan Brisker. He's going to cost a decent chunk. Safety Reed Blankenship. Not going to cost as much as Brisker, but he's made some really good plays. He'd be a good locker room fit as well. And then if you want a dog on defense, CJ Gardner-Johnson, who can play a little bit in the slot, but is also a ball-hawking safety on that back end. So grade my perfect free agency plan. A, B, C, D, or F. Join the conversation down in the comment section right now. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in.